Hi, I'm Jeanette Sutton,
And I'm Eddie Bertola.
and we welcome you to another episode of The Alerting Authority. And as always, we encourage you to subscribe, follow, listen, and most importantly, participate in these podcasts. We want your questions, concerns, ideas, problems, pain points, and your success stories so that we, as alerting authorities, can better do our jobs and make our communities safer.
That's right. I mean, this is for you guys. And one of the ways that we can do this is through our sponsorships. And HQA Systems has been a great sponsor and they continue to be for this program. They work on alert origination software. And not only that, but they have other systems like life safety and electronic security solutions. They can provide solutions to pain points that we all have. Some of the things that I like that they have are their outdoor warning sirens. We've talked about those in the past. You need good ones. Indoor notifications, electronic mass notifications. And one thing I really like is being able to control it all through one piece of software that you can access anywhere. So I appreciate them and their support of this program. At the same time here, Jeanette, I'm super excited to introduce our next guest that we have. We've
I'm,
talked to Texas
yeah,
before, right? Uh,
we have, but I think this is going to be a standout because it's a newer emergency manager,
Hmm.
a woman who stepped into the role of the director after having had 9 years of experience in other parts of the country. And yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating. But I'm jumping ahead. You haven't even done the
Well,
introduction
no,
of our amazing
the f
guest.
the fun part is because 'cause you've probably seen her online multiple times. She's very active in that space, which, is one of the things I tease a lot of law enforcement, especially about is we talk about how, needing to be out in social media, but few people know how to actually do it to leverage, the technology to help them with the message. I think she does. So today we're going to be joined by Ashley Morris. She's an emergency manager in Texas. Just as we said, she has a strong passion for public alerting, community engagement, which I think you're going to hear about here. And then the other cool connection is the weather, just communication and the fact that she has had that desire to learn more about weather and meteorology and everything from a young age. Um, so Ashley brings a very unique background because of the blend between emergency management and the practice with meteorology, which helps her really think of new and better ways to work with her community to help them receive and interpret high risk information. She's deeply involved, and it'll be fun to ask her about the type of outreach she does with digital communications like social media to bridge that gap between the types of alerts, whether it's the wireless emergency alert and an email. I mean, what really can live in that space? And I think she has found a few ways to do that. So I think we're excited. I know I am to talk to Ashley about this and her engagement with communities and her ability to do it at the local level.
Ashley, welcome to the show. We're really glad to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always up to talk some nerdy emergency management.
It's the best kind. I
And you're
absolutely love
representing
having
Texas?
conversations like this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So your path into emergency management is kind of unique. You blended meteorology with community engagement and alerting. So those things all coming together, it makes for an interesting story. Can you tell us what first drew you to this field and how your meteorology background shaped the way you think about risk communication and alerting? And feel free to tell us about your current educational pursuits, because I know that you're a student again.
Yes. So, ever since I was 7 years old, I loved weather. Loved watching thunderstorms in New Mexico, and I really did dream of going and being a National Weather Service meteorologist. Originally, I thought it was mostly because I just really loved storms. I liked watching them; they were fascinating. But when I go back and reflect on my passion as a kid, a huge part of it was telling people about it so that they could be safe. So, from third grade, telling people, go inside and shelter from lightning to going through college and all of that, it's always been a huge part of what I wanted to do. And so it's so great that I found out about emergency management and was able to segue into like the perfect little niche of weather safety and communication.
That's great. Did people appreciate a 3rd grader telling them what to do at the time?
No, and I still have a really funny story where there was a big storm outside and we were doing crafts in the classroom. And I went to go look out the window, of course, and then I yelled across the classroom for everyone to get under their desk because the wind. And my third grade teacher was like, Ashley, you need to calm down.
It sounds like early on you were doing a little community engagement also then with
Yeah, just a little bit.
So for every young man or young woman, right, who dressed up or wanted to dress up as a National Weather Service meteorologist for Halloween, there you go, right? I don't know if you ever
y
did
you
that,
know,
but
Exactly. Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. I think I always wanted to do that for Halloween too. I just like couldn't really think of the right outfit. But
right, yeah, emergency managers, it seems like they show up at conferences with their vest with a little logo on and, like, tactical pants, and, meteorologists, I'm not sure what the uniform is, like, a button-down shirt?
yeah, maybe a polo shirt.
I tell you, okay, for anybody who wants to comment below, I would love to see what your comments are and what you think the uniform is. Please don't attach pictures that you shouldn't attach or anything like that, but just throw some comments. It might be fun. Especially if you have one that you think is the best dressed meteorologist out there. I'm sure there's awards for it, but for common, it's a good question. Um, but with Jeanette's push about, or not push, but her talking about how you were trying to engage with the public as a third grader. Well, you've worked on alert programs and community outreach for a long time, um, and I'd say including a lot of digital pathways like social media. Um, how do you balance the speed and clarity when communicating about urgent weather events? Because I mean, everything has to happen fast. Um, how do you balance that when you have evolving emergencies where information can change, especially when you're dealing with platforms with people who are used to like the very short attention spans?
Yeah, I think for me, coming out of the science world, I really value data. So being data based and science based, and like taking a look at what the research says about how people process things, how they interpret social media, what are the trends, and all of that. I try to stay up on that so that we can use what the research is saying. But most importantly, I try to put myself in people's shoes. So when I first was training in meteorology, I think all of us are a little preachy on the side of we think that everyone should do what we would do as scientists in terms of being safe or whatever. And after working in emergency management almost 9 years now, I've really gotten to know my community better. And my expectations are to serve them where they're at. My community members have different lives and different challenges and different capabilities and different access and different things that are on their mind every day. So I try to think of that when I'm doing messaging for social media, and I try to tailor to what my community members are doing here. For me right now, like I serve a huge amount of landowners and ranchers. So when I'm messaging things like wildfire or storms, I try to think through their shoes. What's their daily routine look like? How are they consuming social media information or any media? And how am I speaking their language through their speak? Common language. I'm a big believer in like eye catching graphics because, again, with attention span, you've got to have something there so people see it. And then again, I still think we need to go where people are. So for us out here, going into Facebook community groups or like trying to find those little community niches where they talk every day about yard sales or whatever they're trying to do. That's been my latest mission, and it seems to be kind of pretty helpful tactic so far.
And I know you said each area is different when it comes to where your community is. You mentioned Facebook. For your community, what are those platforms that you see that people are in?
So definitely Facebook, and just the Facebook community groups, huge. I actually had the chance to just start my own emergency management pages from scratch. So I'm excited to kind of separate a little bit from public safety and just do disaster outreach, engagement, messaging. But with that, I had to start from zero, zero followers, zero anything. And so what I tried to do was Google, city Facebook groups, all that, and then county too, because I serve county. And I would just go and request and try to enter and then start interacting, liking things, commenting on relevant things that are kind of similar. And I actually did the same on Instagram too. I would find like our businesses, our small shops on Main Street, and just follow them. And it's been really great because they've been following me back. And then we've had fires and other things where I get more and more engagement. And so I just think going where they're at, engaging them first, and kind of being visible is like step one of trying to really reach them.
I think those are really important strategies for building your audience that I don't know how many people in emergency management think about that level of effort that's required to get people to know who you are and to build that relationship, really is what you're talking about, is building relationships by talking to them about what they're interested in so that they will see you as a safe, trusted voice that is a legitimate person to follow back. Now, are you engaging as Ashley Morris, or are you engaging as emergency management director, or a combination of both? How are you doing it?
For now, I'm engaging as agency, and so it's been going well so far. But what I want to try to do is engage a little more as a human, as a person. Because when I'm engaging, they see the logo, they don't see the person. But yeah, it's basically agency based first. And then I'm hoping to highlight things that we're doing or show projects and maybe start doing like more of the face to face like reels and stuff to really solidify the human aspect of it.
This is fascinating. I wonder what it would be like to be a small business owner, to have an emergency management agency reach out and say, "Hey, I like your video."
Yeah, and it's been great, like, we have, 'cause, my county's really cool because it's very tourism driven out in the hill country, so we have a lot of folks coming in from Austin, San Antonio, but honestly all around just to come and see the hill country, see the Texas wineries and all of that, but it's a very quaint main street where we've got art, we've got cultural stuff, and it's so cool. But we have this art shop that actually posts some really great portraits of like Texas storms. And so I've reached out to them, like when they'll post, they'll be like, hey, this is a great storm. We'd love to, chat storm preparedness with you, or, we're working on storm initiatives. Or I always try to like draw it back to disaster preparedness or what we do every day just to educate people on the fact that they have an emergency manager here in the county.
That is so great, because it also gives them an opportunity to be part of your voice within the community, and they take an active role in that. It is truly community engagement.
Yeah, and I love it. The first 3 or 4 weeks I was doing it was fun. Like, finding the shops, finding the wineries, finding everybody, liking them, whatever. And then, like I said, we've had the ice storm a couple weeks ago. I had a lot of big brush fires recently too, and, like, that's where the magic happens. They go to you, you comment, they already know you exist, or even better, you get their shares that bring more people in. And it's just really rewarding, and I think too for me, like, community engagement's important because that's how you actually get fulfilled with service, is, you're touching out, you're reaching out to those people and you know that you're helping them. And so that back and forth exchange is important to me because I feel like, that's why I'm here is to help them.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds great. This is going outside of some of our questions that we proposed to you ahead of time, but how did you learn how to do this?
It's a good question. I think ever since college, even when I was still studying to do like National Weather Service, I was always passionate about like the emergence of social media, but using it to get information to people. And so, like, from 2010 to 2015, like, I always was kind of planning on using social media for preparedness. And then when I switched to emergency management, I was really excited because, like, I wanted to do disaster preparedness and really try to get it out to people. And so, ever since I started my career, I've always like reached out to the public information officer and begged if they would let me post. But I've had an aspect of social media management at every job I've done. And then when I was at Fairfax, I had a chance to really just do community engagement as a full time focus. And that's when I started getting into like looking at like social media marketing strategy and a little more of like that part so that I could start to bring that in to just everyday interaction and like learning how to like interface with people and just and do that. So it's definitely been an interest of mine, but it's been so cool to like evolve it over time. Um I will say for me, I'm behind in terms of like the video stuff. Like I'm still not super like up to date on like making reels or like doing interviews on video, but I think that's where I need to go next because that's where you develop the personal part.
Mm. Yeah, that's fantastic.
You're gonna make a
Thanks for
reel
sharing
now.
all that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're
Right?
you're on this and there'll be little videos.
Yeah, I'm thinking I really want to in the near future do some just work on just what we're doing here like with the new position cuz what I've learned too just with EM in general, if you're not visible, you don't exist. So when I'm, in the past 3 months of being in this position, I'm really trying hard to build a local program, and I just want people to see it. See what EM is, see what we do, see that we exist, see that we need funding and staff, and see how important it is. So we'll see.
Yeah, tremendously important. And and moving from that really professional activity of building community engagement in your prior position and bringing that with you into your new position. I mean, your new your new county are only going to benefit from the expertise that you're bringing. And I'm sure they're thrilled as you're growing this already.
I think it's definitely a new mode because we haven't had that a lot. We've had like public safety, like our fire department and police and sheriff do social media and have for a while, but we haven't had the focus on disasters. And for us, after the Kerr County floods, we had a big wildfire last year. We continue to have fires, the 2021 ice storm. Like disasters are very noticeable here in Central Texas right now. And so I think people are really happy to have the engagement. And I want to keep trying to ride that because, again, it's on everyone's mind now. So let's keep talking about it so we can build resiliency on the back end of that.
Mhm. It sounds like a really great strategy for building trust, encouraging people to think about preparedness before disaster strikes, and not just being in that reactive mode, which is what you're doing in the blue sky days that are taking place right now.
Yeah, now, I guess what I wanted to ask about is you worked for Fairfax, right? Bigger county, more resources, right? And now you work somewhere else and it's smaller. It's not the smallest one out there by any means. It is smaller though than Fairfax. So we have emergency managers that have different levels of resources. Some have, again, a lot, others more limited, and they have to rely on partnerships and getting other stakeholders involved. Do you have an experience that you can share where you've had to use collaboration with another entity, agency, community group, somebody to then make a significant difference? Because now you've been on more this side of it where you are having to do more. And I don't want to say on your own because nothing in emergency management is on your own, right? There's always people involved. So do you have an experience that people can be like, okay, I'm in your situation, help me know how to do it?
Yeah, and I'll say like For the 9 years, I've had a lot of different experiences. I started in Texas, technically north of Austin, but then spent 5.5 years out east, a little bit in the Baltimore region, a little bit in the DC region, and then just had this chance to come back and work on some Central Texas stuff. But I will just say that it's different everywhere, but equally important regardless of the size, to use the community groups. And one of my biggest examples would be when I was at Fairfax County during COVID. We had so many really great resource lists just from previous engagement events. So if we did a training for the community or every time we did HOA stuff, we would compile that information. And that was pivotal during COVID when we were having new restrictions roll out or new services and grants and stuff. We would always funnel that recovery information or response information through those groups so that they could funnel it to their folks. Because just like we talked about before, everyone knows how important it is to engage your like community leaders to have them empower their neighborhoods and their families. Because again, I'm just a government person. I'm just the emergency manager, but hearing it from your pastor, your mom, your friend, like that's really empowering. So I would say that work that happened at Fairfax was the first time I really got to see like that buy-in or that importance of building those like distribution lists before the disaster. And then I'll just say, like here, when we had the ice storm a couple weeks ago, I had the chance to do a presentation for our Chamber of Commerce folks. They were doing like a leadership class. And I actually engaged them from the beginning and I said, "Hey, do you have any folks as a part of the chamber who are doing, hotel sheltering options or like what are y'all doing for this storm and what did you guys do during 2021 Texas freeze so I can just know and reach out if we need something." And so that was really great cuz I had them working on an Excel list of just all the private sector stuff that folks wanted to do or thought about or whatever, and while we didn't have to use it, it was so cool to empower like the different groups. So I'm just really big on using those different community groups regardless of size, because we need their buy-in, we need them to help us with messaging, and then we really honestly need their resources. We're just empowering the logistics and the resources of others to help everybody out.
No, I love that. And again, Jeanette, I'm sure you're going to hit it too, is you mentioned multiple things that I would equate to a trusted source. The community hears it from a source that they trust, that they're looking for more information. So I love that stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think it's fascinating to be able to talk to you so early in your tenure in a new position because you're in this incredible growth stage. Not only are you getting to know them and they're getting to know you, but you have this opportunity to start fresh and build trust as a brand new person who's coming in fresh. And obviously, you're getting a lot of great engagement where people are saying, "Yeah, we're going to help you to build those lists. Yeah, we're ready to go." And this early activity that you're doing is it just sounds like it's going to produce so much fruit as you continue to get prepared and respond to events that are undoubtedly going to happen in the future.
Yeah, and it's been amazing because, like, I will say, sometimes coming into a new place isn't always easy. Obviously, you have to learn your community and learn everything. So you never want to come in and just push ways or do anything like that. But this community has been super open and helpful, engaging. And again, I think it all comes around with the experience they've had recently. I think, working through fire recovery or even assisting Kirk County with volunteering or sending resources down and stuff like that. I think we're just in that giving phase and it's been easy to be accepted and that's been great. So I'm really excited to keep growing with the community and just keep the engagement going.
Yeah. Well, let's shift gears a little bit and think about emergency communications and weather hazards. So, what opportunities or innovations excite you the most, like new technologies or partnerships or community strategies? And where do you see room for growth, especially in how we alert and inform the public?
Yeah, so I think for me, I still think some of the methods we have work if we do them right. So I just want to come in and first master what we have, alert systems, iPods, subscription based, NOAA weather radio. The traditional systems work when we know how to do it and we're consistent and we do it good. So that's definitely my focus too. But I'm still excited about some upcoming projects, like the Texas flood system that's going to be coming in. That's going to be interesting to do the engagement on, roll out, but educate because systems don't work without that engagement and understanding of what the system is, why it's doing what it's doing, and what they expect to do, or what they have an understanding of what action to take based on what we're saying. But for me, I mean, I really would like to see some kind of like weather systems or some kind of alerting systems that just empower people with less ask. And by that, I just mean, subscription systems have always struggled because it's hard to get people to buy in. It's hard to have the time when we're so busy as people every day anyway. It's just another thing to the to-do list to maintain, which is why I like iPods. But like, what are some other systems in the future that we could have? Is there some kind of AI system that maybe it can connect to your house and let you know just automatically, like a smoke detector or something, that we have a tornado warning? Are there systems in cars, which I know there's been some work done on, like streaming systems and GPS systems and stuff, which I think would be super helpful. But I think for me, like, I just want to see the ability to get information made easier on people because trying to get them to do apps and sign up is just, it's a lot nowadays when there's so many other things to compete with in everyday life.
Yeah, it is true. And I mean, the Internet of Things is going to land inside our homes and give us more opportunities to get information through different systems. It's going to be exciting to see those things increase over the years. And I think your mention of AI, I think that it could accelerate things quite a bit. And so it's an exciting and scary time. But it'll be fascinating to we will be watching it unfold over the next years and maybe sooner.
Yeah, and I also want to echo too, like even if we make information automated or automatic or easy, we still can't lose the relationships. And we've seen that with some things, with trust and knowing if things are real or not real. I still think there's always going to be some sort of human aspect to making sure that folks are engaged with a human to trust the information coming out. So maybe if we automate some systems, we can spend more time, getting to know residents or doing that engagement and building relationships. But I think for me, even with some of the social media stuff and all that that's going on, it's still extremely valuable to be out there and be able to talk to constituents and serve them that way face to face instead of having them kind of guess what's real or not real on social.
Well, that's one of the reasons, like, I
Yeah.
really appreciate you said that it's important for us to learn how to use what we currently have available because what we currently have available is pretty effective when we use it correctly. There are people with horror stories, but then as you read more on those horror stories, you're like, well, there was some operator error, or there was whatever it may be. But the system itself could have worked potentially if everybody understood what their role was within that system. I think too often we look to the future and be like, there's going to be some brand new thing that will fix all the problems. Well, we still have to learn how to use it effectively. And I just don't want the new system to become the next thing, just like we currently have, that we're not doing super great with, um, or we're just inconsistent. Um, but I guess now I'm going negative, and I don't want to go negative. But at the same time, I want to hit pain points because this is big. Texas, how many seasons are there in Texas? Like nine, and you can experience them all in one day. Is that an am I understating?
Yeah, and like 9 seasons, you never know what you're gonna get. For us, it always seems like flood or fire, or right now, ice or fire, because we went from having fires and then ice storm, and now we're back to fires again. So it's the extremes for sure.
And so, like, pain points come up and they're real. And for anybody who's listening, I know you've experienced pain points. There are things that are difficult, things that you struggle with, or barriers. Now, this isn't, hey, Ashley, tell us all your weaknesses or things that you struggle with, right? But at the same time, we learn some of our greatest lessons from those pain points and struggles. So, from your experience working in alerting systems that support community communication, like we've been talking about, what are some of the biggest pain points that you've encountered or even just observed? And it could be involved with technology, policy, probably, or training, public expectations, etc. What do you think?
Yeah, so I've had a chance to kind of be the, I would say, alert SME for my agency, like at a few, and it's mostly just because like I see how important it is. Again, I think public information is like the key to disaster response and recovery, and I think that if you don't have solid public information, alerting, all of that stuff, I don't think you can have a successful response or outcome. And so that led me to like do a lot of education on alert systems. And then two, just seeing like a lot of headlines come out over the past decade with, like you said, horror stories, challenges, all of that. I'm like, oh my gosh, like alert systems are really important. So I kind of hyper focused on learning about it. And then I ended up kind of being that person who knew about it. So at Baltimore County, I was able to go in when I first started and I started our program up. We had an old like Motorola system or something, but when I got there, they didn't remember when they last sent anything or anything like that. We didn't have policy. I don't even think we had anyone trained on it. But we came in, we established kind of a best practice program. I sat down with public safety, police, fire, dispatch, everybody, and I had them tell me what they would want to send an alert for. You know, and I gave them a big list of like every incident we could possibly have, from level 4 every day to disaster. And we talked about who would be the lead role for that incident, who would be, in command or unified command and all that. And then we talked about how they were going to do it. If this is a fire only response, how are you going to send an alert? What does the policy look like for your agency? Police, if this is a police only, what is the policy for your agency? And then for like active threat, which is a unified response, how are y'all going to work together in unified command and request one alert and make sure that the information goes out from both agencies once? And so we were able to collaborate and agree on policy from the beginning, build the system up, and then have designated senders. So I've always kind of been one of the designated people everywhere because I kind of know and understand the system. But I try hard to build redundancy because I can't be everywhere at once. So we started doing monthly dispatch drills where I would, I think it was like 7 a.m. once a month, we would do a little drill on our system, test it out, just to get them confident on it. And we had all of that set up, so that was great. But the biggest challenge is just the comfortability with it, but the training.
Now, I know I appreciate that, and I'm stopping because I want to throw in this little caveat here. I want to give you like essentially when you wish upon a star, right? You can have something happen. So dealing with those pain points that you talked about, if you could have that wish granted to like make a change, and it can be something small because obviously if if there was like a wish, well, I wish we all did it right all the time. Yeah, okay. I wish that too. But within either your specific agency or I'd say agencies that you interact with, is there a small change or something that you think could make that meaningful difference? And it can be internal or external.
Personally, I think that we all should be trained on it. And I've always felt like we needed required training, and I understand that we have like FEMA IPAWS training to get access to IPAWS, and I get that. But I always wish that they would take it one step more and give us more required training on a local municipal level. If not the emergency manager, then either the dispatch director or someone from comms who typically oversees it. So, like, that would be one of my solutions, but that doesn't always solve the turnover challenges or the comfortability. Um, And I don't know how you solve that because I mean, that's always like a local government problem, but then again, over the past 5 years, I know y'all have done really great, awesome releases on tools to help people craft things. Even some of the alert systems when you, purchase the software now, it's like they have it all built in now where you don't have to do a lot of that work anymore. So, I think some of our advancements kind of can help some people who aren't trained in it do a better job. I think they just need confidence, because when you first bring it up, and even in my new position, because we're starting from scratch here too, when I bring it up, it's kind of a deer in the headlights look, or it's like, oh well, I don't want to send an alert on this. I don't, there's a fear to use alerting, whereas it should be a tool, to help the responders on the ground so that people know what to do, stay out of the area, and help contribute to the mission.
Mhm. Yeah, I love the idea of more training at the local level to help people to feel more confident because Ashley can't always be available to send the message.
I
You
cannot.
need a you need a whole crew of people who are on board with you and ready to go and have just as much confidence that they're gonna be able to do it well as you do, which a lot of it is comfort of having practiced and feeling like you understand the systems well and know how to craft a good message and that training would probably go quite a long way.
Yeah, and I also want to say too, like, this is my first experience where I get to kind of drive the policy because it's just me. I've had to work usually under like executive emergency managers, or just I'm lower on the totem pole. And so I get to kind of set the precedence, but I will say, like the other day, I had to send some alerts. There are challenges with bandwidth for me to do it because I'm doing all these other things. I'm one person. And I had to kind of kick myself a little bit because, like, we know what best practice is. And I definitely know what best practice was. But when I was sitting in the seat that day, there were a couple of things where I was like, oh, I don't feel super comfortable with this. And so it just reminds you, like, hey, like, you do need capacity, and you do need people to come in and help you. And it is a work of progress. So, I am excited to see how we can empower our alert system here because I'm a big believer, like, not not necessarily the more the better to where you become ignored, but if you have an incident that piques interest, like again, brush fires are big, other things, and people need to either stay aware or consider evacuating. I'm big on sending it every time because if we keep people informed, it becomes an expectation also. Um, so I'm hoping to really use it. And it was really cool too because we used our opt in the next day to send a damage survey to them too. And I've never gotten to do that, but it was a cool way to just send it to their email as a non emergency and continue to just get information from them. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we can work through some of the kinks.
Well,
Yeah,
I love it,
that's
and I
a
fully
clever
agree
yeah,
that I mean, you confidence, right? But as you said, and kind of like the tagline that we use a lot is competencies. We want confidence, right? Through competence. And we've all seen people with the fake confidence, right? That we really wouldn't trust sending any of these messages, but they're like, we're a pro at this. We don't really do it that often or we don't train, but I got it. And when they're the ones doing it, there are some serious struggles and we don't want that. So we want all confidence, right, to be built through that type of training. And as we were talking about this, I kept thinking, and I want to throw Jeanette this question, right?
uh-oh.
Um, because she mentioned the training and everything else and the different things that, that we do. And I figured, do you wanna go into that real quick and talk about those things?
Sure, yeah, so, with the alerting authority, we do trainings. We've gone to counties across the United States and spent full days together working through the social science of alerts and warnings, thinking about all the different channels that are available, working through scenarios and writing messages. at the beginning of the day, the middle of the day, and the end of the day, and watching people really increase in their understanding of how to use the tools and even knowing what tools are available. Because there are tools available, and we've made them available for free. Because FEMA said these are so important, people should have them at their fingertips. Um, Other things that Eddie and I have done, we've looked at message templates that have been built ahead of time, which is so important for helping to get things out really quickly, and helping people to think about the kinds of messages that they've issued in the past. And we have this new thing coming up, and in March, I'm excited about it. And Ashley, I don't think you need to do it, but you could tell your friends about it.
I still
It's
think
called the
Ashley could
warning
do
booth.
it, you
Well, you
know?
could. But you might not need to, but I don't know, maybe you do. Okay, everyone's invited is gonna be a big party for 10 people. Um, this boot camp is what we're running, where we've been working with a software company to build a learning management system that is only for the boot camp, and it's going to walk through people through building their message templates for their critical hazards. Because one of the things that we heard as we were working with different counties is they drink through the fire hose of information, a whole day of training, and they'd walk away and their eyes would be like either bleary or super wide open, like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. And then finding the time to actually sit down and do it. So the boot camp is designed to give people that one-on-one attention, direct, immediate feedback, with the tools at their fingertips to get their writing done and making real decisions about how they're going to standardize the way that they communicate so that it becomes really easy and people also know what to expect when they see a message. So we're launching that March 9th. It'll be 1 week, 2 hours a day. And I don't know, it'll be fun to see who shows up and joins us on that project.
That sounds fun to me.
2 hours a day of writing messages? I mean,
Hey,
what's not to
nerd out
love?
together, right? Nerd
Yeah,
out with friends. Um,
I know.
yeah, for sure.
well, no, thank you,
Yeah,
Jeanette. I think it's super important to highlight it because, as Ashley said, training is such an important thing, and training is a big umbrella term. It can mean so many things, and I think we use it um, meaning different things. Like we can just review a policy and be like, "Oh, I'm trained," or "I've been through training." When realistically, in the space that a lot of us work in here, you need hands-on to actually dive in deep, create the messages, what you'd actually send, and then go through the process of sending them through those channels in a training environment, right? But go through the motions. Don't just check a box. Uh, so I just want to go around the horn here. Ashley, I'm gonna have you go first, and Jeanette, like any other closing thoughts from this? Something you're like, hey, let me get this in, or any closing words to any alerting authorities or EMs listening to this?
Yeah, I just want to kind of go off what you were saying about training, and I really want to emphasize the need for exercises and including alerts in the exercises. And I've been guilty myself. I don't always throw that in like a tabletop or throw that in a functional, but I think honestly, we really should. It should be a function of everything that we do with exercises. And I'll also speak for my PIO friends and also say that we need to include public information and PIOs at the table for everything because they also tend to get left out of the exercise or all of those. And so I think the more you practice and you practice like you play, the better you feel. So definitely want to advocate for that. And as for the rest of it, I mean, I think we talked about it all. I don't have too much more, but community engagement, I'm telling you, it's really important. It doesn't matter if you have a staff of 20 people or if you're a staff person of one. Every interaction matters, and I think it's important every week to put something on your calendar or go out and meet people or interact somehow. Otherwise, we're not visible, and if you're not visible, you don't exist.
I love that. This idea of being really visible and knowing how much work it takes, that it's serious effort to be out there continually sharing your message about emergency management, about preparedness, about response, about how to be a partner in all of this. And I just appreciate that you're demonstrating the skill building that's necessary, and you're demonstrating how it's working. So thank you for sharing how the process about how you got to that point, and thinking of it as more than just like once a week you're going to put something up on social media. It is a serious effort required, but the fruit is really, really ripe. So thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank
And
you guys for having me.
yeah, and there's no such thing as a perfect program. I hope I'm not like bursting a bubble of some listener who's out there going, well, why can't it be perfect? Well, I'd love that. That's another wish. But because we're in a human type environment, so many variables, there are going to be changes. There's going to be adjustments that have to be made. And so, as much as I wish for that perfect scenario, the thing that I am happy about is when we have the right people engaged to try to make it the best so that all of our populations can be reached. And, if you've heard other episodes, you've heard Jeanette and I talk about the access and functional needs. Um, we have everyone in our community deserves the same opportunity to protect themselves and their family. And so, just a shout out to you, Ashley. Thank you for going through this effort. And I can't wait to see over the next 5, 10, however many years you want to continue doing it, to see all the cool changes that happen, not only in your community, but in other communities that are impacted by the work that you do here. Um, so again, thank you for those that have tuned in, who have listened. We're really big on trying to reach at the local level. At the Alerting Authority podcast, we believe that every second has a story to it. And we want to be here to help share yours. And just thank you for listening.